Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the absolute smartest, most practical ways to secure your admission to a Chinese university for the 2026 intake. Look, if you've been losing sleep over international applications, stressing about funding, or just drowning in the sheer amount of paperwork required to study in China, go ahead and take a deep breath. You are in exactly the right place. We've distilled the ultimate strategic playbook for you right here. So grab a notepad and let's get right into it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to breeze through 6 key areas: the scholarship challenge, the language strategy, the merit matrix, essential documents, medical form steps, and finally, the application timeline.
Now, check out that massive 99.9% figure. I know, it sounds almost too good to be true, right? But that is actually your admission success rate if you use what we call the smart way into China. Getting directly into a degree program straight away, that can honestly feel like playing the lottery. But applying for a one-year Chinese language program first carries a near 99.9% acceptance rate. We're going to unpack exactly why this is basically your golden ticket in just a second. But first, let's kick things off with Section 1, the scholarship challenge and some truly smart solutions. So, a lot of students get completely tunnel-visioned on the Chinese government scholarship, or the CSC. But here's the reality. Getting a fully funded CSC scholarship usually requires a prior acceptance letter from a Chinese professor. It is fiercely competitive, and it involves some really intense exams and interviews. So the trick here is knowing how to pivot. If you don't have that professor's acceptance letter, you need to shift your strategy to alternative routes. You want to target provincial government scholarships, the One Belt One Road initiative, or university-specific scholarships. Why? Well, there's just way less competition. They're funded directly by local governments or the universities themselves, and they still cover your heavy hitter expenses like tuition and accommodation, plus they throw in a monthly stipend. So what does this actually look like for your wallet? For a bachelor's degree, your tuition is usually totally covered, and while stipends do vary, you generally get some pocket money and a shared room with about 4 students. Now, if you're going for a master's, you're looking at a 600 to 800 RMB monthly stipend and a room shared with just one other person. And for PhD candidates, it jumps up to a super comfortable 1,500 to 2,500 RMB per month, and you get your own single room. It's an absolutely fantastic setup that lets you totally bypass the nearly impossible hoops of those top-tier government scholarships. Moving right along to Section 2, the language program strategy. Let's talk about how this creates an incredible backdoor into the whole university system. If you are on a tight budget, or maybe you're struggling to get direct degree admission, applying for a one-year Chinese language course first is literally the ultimate hack. Like we talked about, the admission rate is essentially a sure thing. And the costs, surprisingly low. You can find programs in gorgeous coastal cities like Qingdao, where tuition and hostel fees combined are only about 4,000 RMB. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 160,000 Pakistani rupees for the entire year. But here's the real magic. When you apply for your actual degree the following year, the online application asks, "Are you currently in China?" Being able to check yes on that box gives you a massive, massive advantage. Universities heavily favor applicants who are already in the country, they know the culture, and they're ready to hit the ground running. Plus, you get a whole year to network with professors face to face. All right, let's hit Section 3, the merit matrix, or how to strengthen your profile. So, what happens if you decide to apply directly without that golden prior acceptance letter? Well, it is all about balancing your profile. If you have a really high CGPA, that's awesome, but do not get comfortable. The evaluation committee is going to grill you in some pretty intense subject interviews, and if you don't have any research under your belt, you could still face rejection. On the flip side, what if you have a lower CGPA? Listen to me, you are absolutely not out of the race. You just have to heavily compensate for it. You do this by showing off rich work experience and focusing really, really strongly on securing research publications. Basically, you have to prove your potential goes way beyond just the numbers printed on your transcript. Okay, we've arrived at Section 4, Essential Application Documents. Consider this your masterclass in strict paperwork. Grab your pens because this is your exact non-negotiable checklist. First up, you obviously need a valid passport. Without it, nothing else matters. Then you need your degrees and transcripts. A quick heads up, if you're applying based on a matric qualification, you need both the degree certificate and the final result card. For master's and PhD applicants, you've got to include 2 recommendation letters and a really solid study plan or research proposal. And please pay super close attention to the bank statement. Sometimes a lower balance might get you through the initial application, but do not risk your visa over this. To get through the embassy without a hitch, make sure your bank statement shows a closing balance of around 8 lakh PKR. Seriously, treat this checklist like it's the law. Now, I know the phrase police character certificate sounds like a terrifying piece of bureaucratic red tape, but honestly, don't overcomplicate it. Depending on where you are, you can easily just grab this essential background check from your local government 15 office, or even a community hub like an Al Hidmet Center. Just do yourself a favor and get it done early so it doesn't suddenly bottleneck your whole timeline later on.
This next one trips up so many people. A lot of students assume they have to go shell out cash for an expensive IELTS or TOEFL test. But actually, an English proficiency certificate in this specific context is usually just a simple, formal letter. You get it printed on the official letterhead of your previous college or university, and it just needs your principal to explicitly state that the medium of instruction for your classes was English. That is literally it. It's one piece of paper, but without it, your application will completely hit a brick wall. Moving to Section 5, Acing the Medical Form. I need you to pay close attention because this is the most technical document of the whole bunch. Missing a single detail here means your application goes straight into the shredder. There's a very specific 4-step sequence. First, just Google and download the 2-page PDF called the Chinese Foreigner Physical Examination Form. Print that out and physically glue a passport-sized photo of yourself to it. Second, take that printout to an official government hospital to get your basic medical tests done. Third, and this is where people mess up, the doctor absolutely must place an official hospital stamp so that it overlaps your photograph on the first page and then sign and date the second page. And finally, the ultimate deal breaker. The doctor has to explicitly write the word fit in the overall evaluation section. If they leave that space blank, it is an automatic rejection, no exceptions. And finally, let's wrap this up with Section 6, deadlines and next steps. Okay, so when does the clock run out on all this? The timeline here is incredibly strict. Your absolute target should be having your entire application, every document, that perfectly stamped medical form, your study plan, submitted by January 31st. That is the primary deadline for the vast majority of these university scholarships. Sure, some late windows might drag into February, but getting it in by Jan 31st maximizes your chances and gets you a much faster response. Over the spring, universities are going to review everything and run interviews. And if you nail it, you'll be packing your bags for September when classes officially kick off in China. Look, this incredible opportunity isn't going to wait around. Whether you decide to go the direct scholarship route or you pull that highly strategic language program backdoor we talked about, your timeline officially starts today. Start downloading those medical forms, go hunt down that proficiency letter from your principal right now. Because you really have to ask yourself, when September 2026 finally rolls around, are you going to be excitedly unpacking your bags in a new city in China? Or are you going to be stuck at home wishing you had just started your paperwork today? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Get out there and best of luck.